response to cattle rustling and police brutality during protests. As the year comes to an end, the Ministry of Interior has provided an overview of the nation's security situation, reiterating its commitment to ensuring the safety of every Kenyan. Acting Interior CS Musalia Mudavadi reflected on the year's event, focusing on the alarming femicide cases. Mudavadi disclosed that 100 women were killed between August and November 2024 and acknowledged that the issue is becoming a perennial challenge. He emphasized that efforts are underway to address the crisis.
The Inspector General of Police has formed a specialized missing persons unit domiciled at the DCI homicide unit to deal with cases of femicide. In addition, His Excellency the President William Ruto, on Tuesday, 17th of December 2024, that is earlier this week, directed the formation of a presidential working group on femicide. The team, to be gazetted soon, is expected to deliver actionable proposals and address femicide issues within 90 days of its creation, so that there can be a structured approach based on their recommendation.
Mudavadi announced the establishment of a specialized missing persons unit to address femicide cases in Kenya. The unit, led by Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja, will operate within the DCI's homicide unit. Mudavadi also dismissed concerns about rising abductions, claiming that social media has been used as a tool for propaganda. He insisted that all arrests were conducted within the law's confines and urged Kenyans to use social media responsibly. However, these statements come despite video evidence showing individuals in unmarked vehicles taking people off the street without proper identification.
In the recent past, social media has been misused to perpetuate a narrative that certain lawful arrests were abductions, when in fact those arrested are either awaiting trial or have been released after the necessary legal procedures. Some of the people allegedly kidnapped were safely reunited with their families, for instance, the two Kitengela brothers and activists. All arrests will be conducted within the bounds of the law and will remain committed to upholding the principles of justice and due process. Any officer found contravening these principles will be held accountable.
According to reports, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights documented at least 71 abductions, 60 deaths, 601 injuries, and 1,376 arrests related to the protests. Human rights organizations have documented numerous cases of abductions and enforced disappearances. The Police Reforms Working Group highlighted the cases of Bob Njagi, Aslam Longton, and Jamil Longton, who were reportedly abducted on August 19th in Kitengela during the protests and remained missing until August. As cattle rustling continues to plague the northern regions, Mudavadi highlighted government's interventions that are reportedly reduced the vice by 62%. However, he acknowledged that vandalism and related crimes have been on the rise across the country.
14,598 cows were recovered. Unfortunately, 179 civilians were killed and 4 officers lost their lives.
Brian Amoai, K24.
Now to matters education tonight. Parents and teachers have raised concerns about the high cost of implementing the competency-based curriculum CBC and the lack of approved textbooks, particularly for grade 5 to 8. While the Ministry of Education insists that significant progress has been made, challenges on the ground paint a different picture. Hare Chimea with more.
As Kenya continues to implement the competency-based curriculum CBC, parents and educators are voicing frustrations over the soaring costs associated with its rollout. A major concern is the lack of adequate textbooks, particularly for students in grades 5 to 8, which many say has made learning difficult.
I've realized we don't have books that have been approved for grade 5 to 8. We only have grade 1, PP1 to grade 4 and then grade 9. So what are we going to use as teachers to facilitate learning in grade 5 to 8.
Despite the challenges, the Ministry of Education has assured Kenyans that 80% of the required textbooks for CBC have already been distributed. This has been made possible through an allocation of 47 billion shillings to publishers, with all materials expected to be available by January.
As we speak today, 80% of grade 9 books have already been distributed, and as we talk today, 47 billion has been paid to publishers, and the chairman of the Publishers Association is here. They will confirm that for the books that they have delivered, which we have confirmed have reached school, we have made all the payment.
The ministry has also defended the parental involvement required in CBC, arguing that assignments do not demand any additional printing or resources from parents. However, this statement sharply contrasts with the reality on the ground, where many parents have reported being asked to bear extra costs for printing and materials.
One thing about CBC is quite an expensive endeavor. It's expensive for parents, and it also, in a way, disadvantages certain section of the communities.
But most critically, we want you to have sufficient interest to go to school and raise a concern with the teachers if an unreasonable assignment is given. For example, we have no place in the curriculum designs that will ask a parent to print anything or even to take pictures. Tembea shuleni, next time mtu amekuambia print ngamia and you live in Homa Bay where we don't have them, say, Mwalimu, I don't think this is very reasonable.
Worse, many schools face a chronic shortage of 72,422 qualified teachers needed for JSS. The Teachers Service Commission, however, says that progress is being made. By January, 20,000 intern teachers are expected to start teaching, while 39,550 teachers out of the 46,000 converted to permanent terms have been deployed to JSS. In terms of infrastructure, the government reports that 14,000 classrooms for JSS have been completed, with 3,800 still pending.
We've agreed that the capitation for junior school, if possible, should be done before the opening of the schools on the 6th of January 2025. This is going to be able to ensure that the transition is made even that much more efficient than before. Our ministry has given instructions to all the head teachers on what portion of the capitation they are supposed to use to do the desks for these classrooms that are being done.
While the government continues to assure Kenyans of its commitment to CBC implementation, stakeholders argue that more must be done. On Wednesday, they called on the Ministry of Education to prioritize timely capitation disbursements to avoid further disruptions to learning. Harriet Chimea, K24.
All right, now as the government continues to encourage Kenyans to enroll in the new health insurance scheme, the systems face significant operational challenges. Hundreds of patients were stranded at the Nyeri Referral Hospital after the Social Health Insurance Fund, a SHIFT system, experienced a major malfunction. Our reporter Edwin Bugwa brings us this report on the plight of the vulnerable patients.
A mother of a newborn baby spent over 5 hours at the Nyeri Referral Hospital waiting to be attended to. The facility explained the delay was due to a failure in the SHA system.
Nikuja kutibiwa na nilikuja 6 juu nilitoka kwetu mapema. Nikafika huku nikapata kuna watu wengi sana. Nikagojea ndio kuone ama tutatibiwa. Na watu wakaendelea kuingia, tukakuwa wengi. Sasa tuko karibu 100 na tukiketi ukikaribia kwenye unaenda kuregistiwa unaambiwa ati system imeanguka. Unaketi. Wengine ninaona wanafika hapo system imeanguka, wanaketi.
Rose, who arrived at the facility around 6 a.m., found her situation even more dire. With no money left and nowhere to go to, she was forced to consider spending a night at the hospital and hoping to receive treatment the next day.
Kama sasa kwetu ni bali siwezi nikarudi kesho. Juzi na fare hata hii nikutafutia nilitafutia nifike hapa. Sasa naweza nikatafuta mtu huku rafiki yangu nilale huku ndio kesho niamkie mapema ikishikana hiyo maneno ya hospitali ishie tu hapo.
Rose's case was not isolated. Other patients, frustrated and in need of urgent medical attention, were also left waiting for hours. The hospital provided little information or assistance, leaving patients in the dark about when or if they would receive treatment.
Hata last week nilikuwa hapa. Last week bado nilikuwa hapa on Tuesday. Na bado ikawa hivi tu mpaka nikaenda bila kutibiwa.
Kuja unapewa kadi, unashinda kwa line, machines zinaanguka. So ukiwa mtu mwelevu inabidi tu utafute solution B.
This situation finally grabbed the attention of the county's health CEC, Joseph Kirago. In response, the hospital was forced to resort to manual registration for patients.
We have just had a meeting with the hospital administration, and we have looking for alternatives to make sure that patients are being done, especially when we triage first the ones who really might look quite unwell to start with.
Our systems were down. That is the system that the HMIS system that we use. Of course, you know there are teething problems whenever there is a new system, and that caused some delay. We also had some delay from the system of our national insurance, which was sorted, but also our system is still having issues, and therefore we have resorted to a manual system, and that's why you are seeing that the line is now moving. So we have had to use an alternative method.
Many frustrated patients blamed the shift system, calling for the return of the National Hospital Insurance Fund, NHIF, which they described as more efficient and reliable.
NHIF haikuwa inaanguka hivi. Kama ni kitambo sasa mtoto angeangaliwa na ni home.
President wetu atusikie. Ajue hii kitu anasema ya si ama sha. Haifanyi kazi hata kama inafanya, haisaidii vile. Kwa hivyo tunamuomba turudishie NHIF. Hiyo ndio tulikuwa tunasaidika nayo. Na haikuwa inaanguka, hii tunaambiwa kila wakati inaanguka.
The incidents highlights the significant challenges facing the Kenya's public healthcare system, where resource constraints and operational failures leave vulnerable patients stranded and without access to vital medical services. Edwin Mbugwa.
All right, that report by Edwin Mbugwa takes us to a second break here on K24 Evening Edition. I'll be back in a few with more stories.